It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Hi, my name is Tracy L. from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stinchfield. One of the things that crushed America was the overregulation of just about everything. This could be seen throughout the Obama administration, certainly the Biden administration, and today, President Trump signed what could be the largest rollback of regulatory actions in modern American history. He specifically targeted climate change actions taken during the Obama administration, including that annoying requirement that when you stop at a light, your car shuts off. And if you don't want that to happen, you got to hit the little button. Well, that will not be mandated on cars anymore. That in a whole slew of policies and regulations that President Trump rolled back with the stroke of a pen.
During my campaign, I promised to cut 10 old regulations for every new regulation. And we've exceeded that. We've instead done it 10 regulations. We were able to cut 129. The biggest one yet that we've done is happening right now.
I love it. Lee Zeldin himself, the EPA administrator, may be the most consequential leader of the EPA also in recent American history. He's the one behind many of these ideas. You know, these greenhouse gases, trying to regulate emissions and all these things. It has been proven over and over again. It has had no effect what happens in the United States on the environment, on the atmosphere, on these greenhouse gases because of other countries. So we crush our economy for what? For nothing. Thank you, President Trump, for fixing that. Now to the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act is about you have to be an American citizen before you vote. I think most people were surprised months ago to learn, yeah, you know what? I never actually had to prove that. That's not right. Well, the SAVE Act now has a new name.
It's called the Save America Act. We've changed the name. It's the Save America Act, and the Democrats are against it.
Because they don't want to save America, Mr. President. They want to tear it down. Now, what's added to it? A voter ID requirement, right, Mr. President?
So you have a vote, you have an ID. That's about a 99% one. And I think 90% with Democrats. Then you have confirmation U.S. citizenship. That's about a 99% one with Republicans, about 86% with Democrats, except Democrat politicians because they cheat on elections. And then you have no mail-in ballots.
All of this will stop the fraud. It will stop the cheating. And he is right. Well over 80% of America supports this idea of voter ID, including blacks and Hispanics, right up there at 80%. This may be the most bipartisan agreement of voters in American history. You can't get 80% of Americans to agree on anything, but you can with voter ID, except, as the president said, except those Democrat leaders, because their little flock of blind liberal zombies have no idea the cheating is going on. See, the leaders do. And the leaders know that if you institute proving you're an American citizen, no more mail-in ballots, and you institute showing voter ID, well, they're not going to win elections anymore because they win by cheating. This is Senator Mike Lee.
We now have nearly every state issuing driver's licenses to non-citizens. And you've got, I think, 19 states willing to issue driver's licenses even to known illegal immigrants. That's what makes this necessary, because the whole point of the NVRA was to allow people to register automatically to vote when they apply for a driver's license. All they have to do is check a box saying, I want to register to vote, and sign their name certifying, by the way, I'm eligible to vote. That's a problem.
It sure is. And again, how many times do I say anybody with common sense would understand this? Well, the only reason you don't understand is if you want to cheat. Now, they don't have a good reason as to why they don't want this, so they fabricate this nonsense that I actually think is racist. They say that it disenfranchises voters as if Americans of color can't figure out how to get a passport or their birth certificate. Only white people can figure this out. That's racist. Ken Jennings over at CNN confronted the wacky left panel he sits in on.
What voting rights is he taking away from black voters?
Oh, if we look at
the SAVE Act?
The SAVE Act, that's exactly what we're talking about. That is actually going to continue to disenfranchise overwhelmingly a lot of people of color. There are so many civil rights organizations that have run the data. If we look at the way that it is going to disenfranchise black voters, it's the same reason why Chuck Schumer called it Jim Crow 2.0.
So
this is the same precedent. If we want to continue...
You haven't said how yet.
I would like to know how. So literally, what she's saying is black people can't get passports? Black people can't go down to the county courthouse to get their birth certificate? Really? But white people can. That's what she's saying. You white folks out there, you're good because you can make your way to the county courthouse. But black folks, I'm sorry. It is so racist. It's so demeaning. And quite frankly, Americans of color ought to be outraged by the Democrat Party. So this then now comes to the funding battle that's going on in Washington. The Democrats do not want to negotiate on this. All they want to do is make excuses about why they can't vote even for another continuing resolution. This is only about 4% of the government, by the way. DHS, Department of Homeland Security. Just today, they said we're not going to negotiate. We're not even going to extend it for another 10 days while we can. Now, remember, this was a deal they already agreed to. There is one sane Democrat, and I don't agree with him on much, but I will say he does come to the table at least willing to talk, and I'm talking about John Fetterman, the senator from Pennsylvania.
Hi, as a committed Democrat, I want the same changes that every other Democrat wants to make on ICE. But ICE already has $75 billion in funding from the big, beautiful bill that I did not vote for. So what it will impact is that we'll shut down important parts of DHS.
All right. So as he said, they've already agreed. Just get it done. Well, here now to discuss all of this is Republican Congressman from Texas, Michael Cloud, is with us. Congressman, great to have you on the program.
Thanks. Good to be with you. Greetings from South Texas.
Well, it's good to have a fellow Texan on the program, always, Congressman. First off, let me ask you about the budget battle and DHS. Your thoughts on if this gets done? I just don't see Democrats budging on this.
Unfortunately, this has become the political football for them. They say that the question's ICE, but we know ICE is already funded in the one big beautiful bill. So really what gets hurt here is the Coast Guard, TSA, other security programs for our country. This is, again, a political football for them. They've got no agenda to run on. They've got no vision for America. This is what they're left with, is holding up the funding for DHS.
Congressman, the House has done its job. You've passed this through. The Senate now has it. John Thune, I've said I don't know if he's a nice guy or not. I've never met the man before, but he always seems to be like kind of walking back the possibility of the SAVE Act getting passed, of the budget thing going through. He just doesn't seem to have the gumption to make something happen that Republicans want to happen. How do we get around that?
Well, we're working through that. Today, he did sponsor the Save America Act, so that's a big step forward. We had a couple more Senate co-sponsors come on board, and the American people calling and talking to their senators and saying this really needs to get done. I mean, this is obviously not a partisan issue anywhere but the halls of Congress and the political elite who are trying to force their agenda upon the American people through fraudulent elections. And so this is a very clear issue for Americans across the spectrum. Across the voting spectrum, that this needs to happen. They want secure elections. We just got to keep putting the pressure on and get enough senators to do the right thing. This process was done in a way that it removes one of the hurdles in the Senate that could tie up some time. And so if we can work around, this idea, they call it a filibuster, but it's not like you and I think of when we think of Mr. Smith goes to Washington. They basically just kind of put a hold on it, from their cozy office, as opposed to going out there and actually making their case to the American people. So they could force a talking filibuster to where the Senate actually had to go out there and explain why they're supporting or opposing such common sense solution for our elections and let the American people decide what they think about it. But so we're going to continue to advocate for that. I know America is as well, and that's really the path forward on this issue.
So this is where I've seen Thune kind of be very squishy on this talking filibuster. I'd love to see that. I would love to see Democrats try to stand up there for hours and explain this rather than black people can't get a passport and married women are going to have trouble voting. That's all they have on this stuff. I don't think Thune's going to do it. Do you think we get to a point where we throw out the filibuster altogether? That's that 60-vote requirement to move legislation to a full vote.
Yeah, we will get to that point eventually in the Senate. The question is, will it happen under Republicans or Democrats? And if it happens under Democrats, if for some reason we're not able to deliver on the promises we made to America in this term and the House or the Senate would flip, they will do it and they will begin to enact their agenda. And then we'll be back to where we were just a little over a year ago, where we had a government just doing all the horrible things it was to be really an oppressive regime on the American people. So this is a critical moment, and we need American people stepping up and calling the Senate.
Well, as President Trump says, it's called the Save America Act, and there's nothing more important than this, because if you don't have safe and secure elections, we don't have a country anymore. I'll ask you this last question. We're now rapidly approaching the midterms. I'm surprised we haven't gotten really more done. I would have loved to have seen concealed carry national reciprocity. That means you can carry your firearm in any state if you have a concealed license from one state. There's all these things that could have been done that, again, we missed the boat when we controlled the House and the Senate. Your thoughts, Congressman?
Of course, I'm always in the camp. I'd like us to be getting more done. I think this is a season to put the pedal to the metal, so to speak, and get a lot of things done. We did get a lot of things done in the one big, beautiful bill, and it kind of gets lost in a 2-week news cycle. And so there is, we're certainly headed in the right direction. We're not where we were. A lot of things are happening. ATF is a sticking point right now where we need to see more action to securing our liberties. We've been working on the database that they've accumulated. We believe 1 billion gun records on the American people. That's one of the issues we're pushing back on. So certainly we need to see more action when it comes to protecting our Second Amendment liberties. Those we understand to be a gift from God, not a grant from government. We'd like to see more action there, but we shouldn't throw out the baby with the bathwater. There is a lot of good being done. Of course, I want to see more as well.
Yeah. Congressman Cloud, it's always great having you on the program. Welcome back to Texas. I know you were in Washington for a while, and I hope to see you again.
This morning, actually. Yeah.
There you go, my friend. Thank you. All right, folks, we move on to now what maybe was the most entertaining Senate hearing I have seen in a very long time. I'm going to profile two of my favorite senators, Josh Hawley and Senator Ron Johnson. Boy, oh boy, these two went after Keith Ellison. He, as you know, former member of Congress, now the Attorney General in Minnesota that's overseen, I believe, the fraud. They turned a blind eye to the fraud in Minnesota. Well, he was on the hot seat. Josh Hawley first.
Whistleblowers came to you as early as 2019. Let's look. As early as 2019, whistleblower. Don't talk over me. As early as 2019, it's my hearing, pal. As early as 2019,
don't call me
whistleblowers came. Well, I should call you prisoner because you ought to be in jail.
Well, we'll see what you can do about it.
You know, I love when these leftists dare us to put them in prison. Now, when it comes to elected leaders and some of these bureaucrats, we haven't done a very good job of it. When it comes to these Antifa goons, the moment they dare us to put them in prison, we've had them go arrest them and do just that. Be very careful what you wish for, Ellison. Hawley continued with him.
You made pledge after pledge to them. You said, we've got to make sure this guy who's investigating them stops it. You said, you have my attention. I'm concerned about this. You said, let's go fight these people, meaning the people who are investigating the fraud. Why'd you do it? Why'd you help them?
Are you going to let me answer?
Please, we're all ears.
So first of all, you're cherry picking quotes out of there.
Why did you help them?
I thought you were going to let me answer.
Why did you help them?
Are you going to let me answer?
Why did you help
You
them?
let me answer and I'll answer you.
Tell the truth and I'll let you answer.
I will tell the truth.
Good. He doesn't tell the truth. It's not something Democrats have in their bag of tricks, the truth. Lies are what they're filled with. Now, he disputes that when our friend Ron Johnson got a hold of him.
And 2 people are dead because you encouraged them to put themselves into harm's way. And now you're exploiting those 2 martyrs. That was a tragedy. It never should have happened.
Of course, he's talking about the 2 people that were killed at the hands of ICE agents, both of them resisting arrest, one of them certainly trying to run over an ICE agent. And yes, they were encouraged by Democrat leaders like Ellison. One more from Ron Johnson.
Yeah, sit there and smirk. Smirk. It's sick. It is despicable.
Are you asking me for comment, Senator? Because everything you said was untrue. It was a nice theatrical performance, but it was all lies.
The lies came from Ellison. There is no doubt about it. Not a lot of information, not a lot of substance, but I told you, pretty entertaining, right? I chalk it up for the victory. 2 for the Republicans, 0 for Ellison. Now to the Nancy Guthrie case. You know, this is the mother of today's show host, Savannah Guthrie. She is still missing. I don't know, what are we in the 12th day now? Almost 2 weeks. Some new things have been happening. This white tent went up outside of Nancy Guthrie's home. That is typically an evidence processing tent. Sometimes you put it over where you find a body. We know that didn't happen today, but evidence processing is usually what you do inside of those tents. And then TMZ back making news again. I'm not sure how important the news is, but they got a hold of this video from about 5 miles away and 20 minutes before the suspect was seen at Nancy Guthrie's house. Could that be the suspect? That's the question they're asking, saying that the backpack that suspect you see there was holding, not the one on his back, but was holding, looks very similar to the suspect at Nancy Guthrie's house, but he would have had to go through an outfit change. Here's Harvey Levin.
This video was shot at 1:52 in the morning at a home 5 miles from Nancy Guthrie's house. You see a man in the video both wearing a backpack and holding a backpack. The backpack that he is holding has reflective stripes similar to the backpack that the kidnapper was wearing at Nancy's door. It's unclear from the video exactly where those reflective stripes are located, but they are reflective stripes.
Yeah, I don't think it looks like the bag. I really don't. I'm sure investigators will be looking at that. Now, again, we're 12 days into this, and really not a lot. This case is moving at a snail's pace now. And I got confirmation of what I told you yesterday, that it looks like there may be some dissension building between interagency communication and some ruffling of feathers. Maybe that's slowing the investigation down. This is a former FBI guy.
But I still believe, based on the beginning of this investigation, that things started way too slow. And some of the reporting is that there was a disconnect between the sheriff's office and the FBI, which is unacceptable. We don't have time of luxury. We have to move quickly on this case. So I can see why it's frustrating.
He may have been quoting my reporting, by the way. I want to bring in now to discuss this, Real America's Voice field correspondent Kevin Posobiec is with us. Kevin, welcome to the program, Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Stinchfield. It's good to be here. As you can see, I am directly at Nancy Guthrie's house where the white tent was set up today.
Kevin, what have you been learning today? Anything new for us? What's going on? What's the mood?
The mood is people are getting fed up. To your point, it is very much a snail's pace here. I mean, we have an update that 2 gloves have been found instead of 1 glove. They found the pair, and now this new video comes out. It's not much. I mean, even, to agree with the last gentleman, a former FBI agent, like this should have been done, this forensic analysis, on day 1, not day 12. And what are they really doing there? Are they using AI software to measure the height of some guy? I mean, I'm a carpenter. I could take my tape measure out and measure the bricks and figure that out myself. So
it is quite odd that they bring a tent like that out, which usually is used to process evidence in there, that you wouldn't have had the evidence earlier on. Has there been any action, Kevin, at Annie Guthrie's home? There was a lot of action early on and moving into the beginning of this week at her home and collecting digital forensic evidence there. Any action there?
Yeah, so good point. I was just there about 20 minutes ago, and it's in the same neighborhood. I mean, so it kind of makes sense. I mean, this, if older family, you want to live by your parents, it makes sense. But there's, about 50 news agencies here right now. They've been here all day. But compared to Annie's house, there's only about 2 or 3. And they have a private security guard in their driveway, but it doesn't seem like anybody's home. So no action there today.
Interesting. No action there. Well, I know you'll be keeping an eye on things for us, and I appreciate the update. And please, Kevin, I'm so grateful that you're on the program. You can't call me Mr. Stinchfield. You can call me Stinch. A lot of guys call me that, or you can call me Grant, but no Mr. Stinchfield.
Very good.
All right, buddy.
Well,
thank you for coming on. Keep us posted. Absolutely. Folks, a lot of people have been asking me, what's with all the coverage? They come up with conspiracy theories that, this is to move the narrative away from ICE and to move the narrative away from this. And it's a big scheme. I'm going to tell you something. You want to know the bottom line of why we cover this? Because people want to see it. The eyeballs are through the roof on this. Not just at Real America's Voice. When we do it, the numbers go through the roof. My podcast, I do 3 times the viewers when I lead with the Guthrie case. It's the most bizarre thing. So what am I supposed to do? If everybody's tuning in to see it, tell you you're not going to get it? And I figured this out. This case seems to me a lot like when I covered weather back when I worked at the local news station. How many of you out there have said, why are they standing on a bridge telling us to drive slow? Why are they covering the rain? You know why they do it? Because you're watching, and the ratings go through the roof. So this case, TV news, the weather, in many respects, you're not going to like this analogy. I know many of you won't, but it's a decent analogy. In many respects, it's like pornography. Nobody admits they watch it, but they all do. All right, folks, the truth behind China's organ harvesting pipeline. Don't miss the story. Next.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access. Plus, commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Hi, my name is Tracy L. from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
Hey y'all, it's Nancy from Texas. Real America's Voice gives us truth, not propaganda, and we need that. Thank you so much.
My name is Phoebe, and I live in Florida. I love Real America's Voice. They truly speak for the people, and that's what real patriotism is all about.
From Muskegon, Michigan. Why do you love Rav?
Because we've become family. All those Rav live chatters and me.
Everyone, I want to talk a little bit about Cuba. Right now, Cuba is on the brink. This is all part of President Trump's master plan. What is he doing? You saw what he did with Venezuela. We're now going in and taking our oil refineries back in Venezuela. I'm telling you, this is what he wants to do in Cuba as well, not to mention free the people. So President Trump cuts Cuba off from the oil. Cuba starts to suffer because of it. They are on the brink. They are running out of oil reserves. Then what happens? We learned today that Russia, our nemesis, is now going to send an oil tanker filled with oil to rescue Cuba. President Trump is not going to be happy about this. You're going to see another round of sanctions go back against Russia, and this is going to heighten the tensions there. And it will delay President Trump's ultimate plans to have American companies go into Cuba and take our refineries back. Remember, this is the same thing as Venezuela. They were our refineries. These rogue regimes took them from us. Here is Phil Flynn. He's an energy expert economist.
I mean, it's going to collapse, right? And President Trump goes, I don't want this to collapse. I don't want the people of Cuba come to the table and make a deal. In 1959, 1960, U.S. had 3 or 4 refineries there. You know, Cuba took them over. We owned property there, cattle farms, agriculture. We all had American investment, and that was all taken by Fidel Castro. And President Trump has a long memory. It's like, I want that money back.
We're already seeing tankers from Venezuela coming to the United States filled with oil. Imagine if we had the same thing just 80 miles from the United States, Cuba is. Would be amazing. If anybody can do it, President Trump can. Vladimir Putin, you better tread lightly with this idea of sending Cuba oil. That's all I can say. Now on to China. There is a reason why we have to push back against China. China is waging war on the United States. And if you look inside China, the number of human rights abuses going on inside that country, when you think of the Uyghur Muslims, and when you think of what they do with organ harvesting. Organ harvesting, by the way, that is non-voluntary. It's pretty sick. Check this out from a recent movie.
He got a conflict with his officer and was put into a military jail. His blood type matched that of a high-level military officer. So the army decided to kill this boy for his 2 kidneys and 1 eyeball. His parents probably never know what happened to their kid.
Was it All right, so great job on that. I believe that was produced by the Epic Times, and State Organs is the name of the movie, and it's worth a watch because it's eye-opening. I want to bring in now to discuss the senior editor at the Epic Times, the author of Killed to Order. Jan Jekielek is with us. Jan, welcome to the program.
Grant, thrilled to be here with you.
Well, Jan, it's my pleasure. I've been talking for many years about the organ harvesting that goes on in China. It doesn't get a lot of attention nationally. Why is that?
The truth is that the first truth is that people just can't imagine the horror of it. I really think so, because I've been working on this for 20 years or so, okay? And when I first realized it was real, and I should probably explain what it is, right? We're not talking about garden variety organ transplantation here that's, people sort of ending up in a ice tub or something like this and missing a kidney. We're talking about a much more serious situation where you need a state actor. You need someone who is actually able to push propaganda through into a system and dehumanize a group of people and also incarcerate a large group of people. This is what the Chinese Communist Party did with the Falun Gong back in 1999. And what they did was they basically incarcerated, imagine it, we think it's about 1 million, maybe it's more, it's a state secret, we don't know the exact numbers, but then they started blood typing and tissue typing them, okay, and creating a database of vitals. And now, before 2006, there were actually ads online that said, in 2 weeks, if you have 200 grand or some number, you can get a new heart in communist China in a matter of 2 weeks scheduled. So they already knew when someone was going to die. And the only way that could happen is because they already had that person, that so-called donor, right, pre-typed, ready to go, ready to be killed to order for the benefit of the recipient. That's the situation. And it's happening to the tune of 60 to 90,000 transplants a year since the late 2000s.
All right, Jan, so this obviously is the title of your book, Killed to Order. You have these prisoners. Somebody is a match. They're not just going to take a kidney or something you can donate. They're going to take your heart and literally leave you dead. This is what's happening.
This is exactly what's happening. And, it's a very hard thing to actually measure. We have an example of a hospital. We've actually published this in the Epoch Times in 2016. The article was called A Hospital Built for Murder. And this hospital was kind of advertising to the world that it was being very successful, okay, in its organ transplantation industry. It was comparing itself to big transplant service centers like in Pittsburgh and so forth. But then when we looked at the actual numbers, the number of hospital beds, the number of people actually going for these transplants, it was like an order of magnitude greater. So they were, they basically had sort of made the numbers less so that it wouldn't look suspicious, if you will, but still were touting their great successes in transplantation. And this is just one example of a hospital.
So I could see a CCP higher up certainly doing this. Is there any indication that if you're a billionaire from the United States or from France or Italy, that you make an appointment and you fly to China and you get a heart? Is that happening, or is it just people in China?
It's people from all over the world, from what we know. I mean, we have basically the better part of 20 years of evidence that's been gathered. I have one example, and I'll share this here. A credible example that was verified by a explant surgeon in Germany, a former explant surgeon in Germany, where there's a woman who had basically like a psoriasis of the liver. She's a heavy drinker. And she ended up going to China, some sort of rare condition, and getting a transplant. And she actually ended up doing this 3 times, if you can imagine, wow. Basically drinking that liver into psoriasis each time. So this is something that's really kind of impossible, but it's available to someone who does have a lot of money and very loose morals.
All right. So here's what's really sick is, if you are the person needing the donation, that you're the patient, do they know that they're killing somebody in order to give you a heart or a liver? Do these people know, or are they just, oh, you know what, some Chinese kid got in a car accident and we put them on ice and we took their organs? Are they being lied to, or do they know?
They're being lied to, but you kind of know. So, we've heard different things. There was actually a South Korean film crew that went in undercover, looking for organs, so to speak. And one answer they got was that where are the organs coming from? There are a lot of people in China. Okay, that was one answer. Another answer was, well, they're really actually coming from prisoners. Now, here's the crazy thing, okay? Until about 2014 or 2015, they completely denied using prisoners for organs. But then at that time, they said, oh, no, now we've started a transplant registry. Actually, we did use prisoners all this time, but now we've stopped.
Is there any indication that the Trump administration would push back? I mean, nobody's been tougher on China than President Trump. Is there an awareness growing inside the administration about something like this? What do we do? I will say not only nationally as a country, but what do we do internationally to stop this?
Well, let me first answer your first question. I think there's a huge opportunity, and the administration has responded in multiple ways, okay? Back some months ago, Armstrong Williams had an op-ed in the Baltimore Sun, the paper that he owns, about this issue. And the HHS Twitter or X actually responded about it and said, we shouldn't have collaborations. That was huge. That's the first time there was a response like that, okay? I just interviewed Jay Bhattacharya, the NIH director, on my show, American Thought Leaders. And, he mentioned something to me that I realized was actually a method to create accountability by the new granting structures that NIH is organizing. And so we actually had a conversation about that, and it's clipped in my X account now. So, and there's genuine, real interest, right, in dealing with this. We've got Congress, we've got, 2 laws that have been passed by the House near unanimously that actually sanction some of the people involved in this. That it's in the Senate. The Senate can pass it, and the president will be able to sign off on it, right? Nobody's going to, if it goes on the floor, nobody's going to vote against this stuff, right? And there's 6 states, Grant, okay, that have actually passed laws that prevent, say, Medicare or Medicaid insurance from actually, paying for these China transplants. 44 states to go, but it's started. So there's a kind of a big movement that's begun, and that's part of the reason for the book at this time.
I'll tell you what, it wouldn't be happening without your book, the work you've done, Kill to Order, and of course, the Epic Times as well. It does such great work on all of these issues over there in China. Jan Jekielek, I appreciate you coming on the program, and I urge everyone to read the book. It's fascinating, and thank you. Keep us posted.
Really appreciate it, Grant.
Absolutely. Feelings mutual. All right. Are AI chatbots forming romantic relationships with our teenagers, our children? Does something need to be done about this? We'll talk about it next.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
There's a light I've always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer, in the moments I'm afraid. There's a whisper in the wind, and a story in the sky, when I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right now on Angel. It's perfect for the entire family and has memorable music. So once you join the Angel Guild, you can start watching Young David right now and prepare the fam for the David film in theaters in December. And by joining the Guild, you'll guarantee 2 free tickets to see it. And it's a great value. Let's be honest, going to the movies isn't all that cheap. But if you're a member of the Angel Guild, not only do you get those 2 free tickets to David, but you'll now have access to every single film or TV series on Angel at your convenience anytime. So just go to angel.com/Rav and join there.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
Back, everyone. I've sounded the alarm for a long time on artificial intelligence. I think it's one of the most dangerous technologies we've had since the nuclear bomb, and I mean it. Now, can it be used for good? Absolutely. I use AI all the time. But there are some things that are happening, and it's getting somewhat out of control, especially when I hear parents like this and the things that happen where the chatbot talks a young kid into killing themselves.
ChatGPT became Adam's closest companion, always available, always validating, and insisting that it knew Adam better than anyone else, including his own brother. It told him how to make sure the noose the noose that he would use to hang himself was strong enough to suspend him. It is clear to me, looking back, that ChatGPT radically shifted his behavior.
Now, I guess one of the benefits of ChatGPT, one of the negatives of ChatGPT is the same thing. It gives you what you want. Okay, I use it all the time. Write a conservative-based preview of the Stinchfield podcast, and it does a pretty good job because it's been doing it for a long time. But it'll give you what you want. If you want to know how to kill yourself, it's going to tell you. So what do we do about this? I actually thought in some respects AI needs regulation like nuclear bombs need regulation, and I'm not a big regulatory guy. But ultimately, I will say this. The responsibility does not fall on government. It does not fall on ChatGPT. It falls on all of you to watch out over your kids. I want to bring in now Moms for Liberty co-founder Tina Descovich is with us. Tina, welcome to the program.
Glad to be here with you.
Tina, what is Moms for Liberty calling for?
Well, we've launched this morning an AI and education toolkit, a safety and AI and education toolkit. We were invited to be part and attend the First Lady's White House Task Force on AI and Education. And I've been invited to the White House to discuss with them concerns of parents, and they have listened. We actually signed a pledge saying that we would support advancing AI in education because we realize it is an important tool. I love how you said in the opening, though, it should be treated like a nuclear bomb, because I've been saying it needs to be treated like a drug. It can help heal education. It can help children learn to read and do math and do all types of things. But if it is not if you do not put safety checks on it and guardrails around it and guidelines to protect children, it could destroy them.
Yeah. Look, AI is here to stay, and anybody that thinks it's not is probably living under a rock. It's here. Now, when it comes to guardrails, I do believe the ultimate responsibility is on parents. I never was one, Tina, for violent video games. I'm not a fan of violent video games, but if I don't want my kid playing them, then I mandate that he doesn't play them. I don't want to outlaw violent video games. How do you balance that when we look to regulate AI in a sensible manner?
I think when it comes to kids, it's a no-brainer and it's not hard. And Moms for Liberty is not asking to ban AI. We support and encourage its use in a proper role. And we've done that with children on everything from day one. I would have never advocated to ban video games, like you just said. My children weren't allowed to play them, but did they exist? Yes. What I would want there is, I guess, informed consent, right? I would want to know what's in that video game rating system so that you can make good decisions for your children. And so what we're doing at Moms for Liberty with our AI toolkit, this is just phase one of it, by the way. We're building out resources and tools to help educate parents. Parents don't know what it is. They don't even understand. They don't know what's happening to other children right now. They don't know how it works. And so we're calling for government entities like school districts to be transparent. Parents need to know what the algorithms and how they work and understand it. Make it in a simple way that we can understand what they're trying to do with our children through these programs.
Yeah, it may be a tall order to end up trying to get as far as you want, because in some respects, I'm not sure the AI itself knows what its own algorithm is. I've seen these things. They start to teach themselves, come up with languages on their own, learn languages on their own, which is completely crazy. But as a warning and an extra warning to parents, I'm going to play another soundbite. This is Megan Garcia, talked about her son and what happened to him. Listen to this.
And sexual conversations with Sewell over several months. It manipulated him and it sexually groomed him. On the day he took his life, his last interactions weren't with his mother or father, but they were with this AI chatbot on Character AI. This chatbot encouraged Sewell for months to find a way to come home and made promise that it would be waiting in some fictional world.
This is sickening stuff. It's why I tell every parent they have to be in their kids' phones and computers. And, I don't want to invade their privacy. I believe they have to. Tina, this toolkit that you came out with, is it for parents or is it for lawmakers?
It is for parents to bring information to lawmakers. We cannot assume that lawmakers understand what's happening with AI and what's happening to our children. Lawmakers everywhere are getting excited about AI and what it can do to improve business and improve processes. But what they don't necessarily know is how it's impacting children. And so to add to the stories that you just shared, we had a dad reach out recently who his 10-year-old daughter accessed an AI companion on her school laptop during school hours that he found eventually after 6 months, where she had created over 10 AI companions and they were sexualizing her. And so, what we can do is make sure this stuff isn't happening at school and that there's guardrails. And so in our toolkit, we have school board speeches that you can draft and modify for yourself to bring this to the attention of your school board members, a proclamation that they can adopt, and school board policy that they can adopt to put these guardrails in place, state level policy, model policy that you can use and take to your legislators. So it's empowering parents to start working with their government officials to make sure those guardrails are in place.
Tina, where can people find that?
momsforliberty.org/AI. Oh, and there's a pledge. You could take that. It's low-hanging fruit. Take it to your elected official and hold them a little bit accountable on some of the things they're voting on right now that could impact children.
Well, it's great stuff. momsforliberty.org/AI. Is that right?
You got it.
All right. Tina Descovich, thank you so much for coming on. Good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. And again, my reminder to all of you is government's not going to protect your kids. You can try and we can put the guardrails in, but ultimately it falls on you. It's a tough job being a parent. Trust me, I'm one and I screw it up all the time. I think parenting is the only thing that I'm not as good at as many, many other things. But I try my best, don't we all? All right, as Democrats demand ICE reform, Acting Director Todd Lyons tells us how the cartels are targeting him and his family. Wait till you hear this story.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
There's a light I've always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid, there's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky. When I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right now on Angel. It's perfect for the entire family and has memorable music. So once you join the Angel Guild, you can start watching Young David right now and prepare the fam for the David film in theaters in December. And by joining the Guild, you'll guarantee 2 free tickets to see it. And it's a great value. Let's be honest, going to the movies isn't all that cheap. But if you're a member of the Angel Guild, not only do you get those 2 free tickets to David, but you'll now have access to every single film or TV series on Angel at your convenience anytime. So just go to angel.com/Rav and join there.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
We talk a lot of topics on this program that I know you know a lot about. But one of the reasons why I show you clips like the one I'm about to show you is to give you talking points, so when you go to work tomorrow or you're at the bowling alley with your friends or at the golf club or whatever it may be, that you're armed with information about what's really going on. You know, these ICE agents that go out there and are doing, in my opinion, God's work to keep us safe. Their families are being targeted. And I want you to hear Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons talk about what's going on with him and his family. Watch this.
The week that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, there was a tweet that went out. It said, kill Charlie Kirk, kill another, there was another individual in that, kill Todd Lyons. That's the stuff that ICE, yesterday after the testimony on Tuesday, I went back to numerous death threats against my family. There was a videotape of my wife walking to work that people actively post. The cartels have actually posted the schematics to my home.
I want you to consider this. Now, the tweets after Charlie Kirk's death, every conservative commentator, I'm sure liberal commentators, you get death threats every now and then. I don't worry about them too much because they're keyboard warriors. If there was a video of my son going to school, or your wife going to school, or your parents, how frightening is that? This is how deranged and delusional and violent these people are. Now, he said cartels are sending that. The cartels are scary because they will kill anybody. It's interesting he knows it's the cartels. Here's what he goes on to say as well about the masks, right? And I've been a critic of the masks. I'm not a fan of the masks the ICE agents wear. Listen.
We actually did an operation with the Secret Service where we identified doxers who put up on telephone poles the home addresses and the schools where ICE officers and agents went to. But yet no one covered that operation. We covered that as a success. And I don't want my officers masked. I would work with this committee and any committee to work with holding individuals accountable that dox ICE agents, because ICE agents don't want to be masked. They're honorable men and women, but the threats against their family are real.
Can you imagine having your face plastered on a telephone pole with your home address in an area where all of these lunatics are scavenging like cockroaches? It takes one mentally ill, deranged, violent loon to show up at your family's house. Now, I would offer up if the ICE agent's home, they probably picked the wrong house. But it only takes one. So I'm with him. I don't like the masks, but why don't we say, hey, you know what? If you're doxing federal agents, that should be a crime. And I agree, it should most certainly be a crime. I want to turn now to Minnesota, where Tom Homan has announced that they've pulled all their operations, at least the surge, out. But it was Tim Walz today that really stole the show in this hearing. He wants us to pay for what went down in Minnesota. Good luck with that, Governor Walz.
I am also asking our team, and I'm going to make appeals to our federal delegation. The federal government needs to pay for what they broke here. There are going to be accountability on the things that happened, but one of the things is the incredible and immense costs that were borne by the people of this state. The federal government needs to be responsible. You don't get to break things and then just leave without doing something.
You're the one who broke everything. You're the one who let all the illegals in. You're the one that has overseen all of the fraud and turned a blind eye to it. You want me, all of you out there? He wants us to pay for the crap hole that Minnesota has turned into, specifically Minneapolis. There's some beautiful places in Minnesota and some great conservatives. So I don't want to say the entire state's crap hole. There's some beautiful lakes, too. But man, oh man, cities like Minneapolis, it's disgusting what he's turned that once great city into, and he wants us to pay for it? I don't think so. Real quick, there is a growing call to have Ketanji Brown Jackson, the Supreme Court Justice, impeached. Why? Because of this nonsense.
I was actually in L.A. because of a moot court that I was doing at around the same time, and it's just so happened that I got nominated for this Grammy, and I was already going to be there, and I thought this is a great opportunity to have...
Well, you know what she was doing? She's clapping for everybody saying kill the ICE agents, basically. She's clapping. She's applauding. Abolish ICE. That's a Supreme Court justice. I don't care why she was there. I really don't. She was there, and the bottom line is she was acting like a complete leftist goon. That's why she ought to be impeached. And I do believe she was still responsible for that leaking of the overturning Roe v. Wade decision. All right, CNN's fake news journalist Caitlin Collins has now admitted the White House has her back, at least on one occasion.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
I've always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid, there's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky. When I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right now on Angel. It's perfect for the entire family and has memorable music. So once you join the Angel Guild, you can start watching Young David right now and prepare the fam for the David film in theaters in December. And by joining the Guild, you'll guarantee 2 free tickets to see it. And it's a great value. Let's be honest, going to the movies isn't all that cheap. But if you're a member of the Angel Guild, not only do you get those 2 free tickets to David, but you'll now have access to every single film or TV series on Angel at your convenience.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part